everyone, it's Maddie.
And V, and today we're going to be doing the BookTube Real Talk tag.
I saw this on Gabby Reed's channel, so I'll leave a link to her video in the description, but essentially it's just 7 questions about BookTube and how you think it's going. The first question is, what is something nobody told you before you started your BookTube channel about the platform?
I feel like that one's difficult to answer because we joined in 2013. BookTube was still like a relatively new thing.
I guess what I would say for this is that it takes a lot more time than you think, and having content that relies upon a second hobby, obviously people that just like vlogging, their hobby is filming itself, they don't need other things, they can just live their lives, whereas having reading as something that you talk about in video is like the two rely upon each other so much, and you can't make videos without
if you're in a reading slump, then it makes it difficult to film videos. So you could end up taking an extended break and then feel like you don't want to come back to it, which is fine.
The second question is, what's your opinion on the typical BookTube videos of wrap-up hauls and TBRs?
I used to watch a lot of hauls when we first started our channel, just because I wanted recommendations on what I should be reading, because that was when I'd only probably read a handful of YA books.
And that was when YA didn't even exist in bookshops. Like, they had one shelf and it was just Twilight and Bloodlines.
They had a whole, like, vampire shelf.
Yeah, vampires.
That was it. But I think people are really moving away from it now. Like, I haven't seen a wrap-up called that in months. People really prefer reading vlogs, which I think actually suits a lot more people because it means you're able to talk about the book as soon as you finish reading it, rather than saving it up and then having to like struggle to remember exactly why you liked it or why you didn't like it.
Our last video is testament to why.
You should
That's
do
difficult
because your memory will be bad.
When I was reading, I never really had opinions before BookTube on what I read,
and then I had too many opinions. And I was like,
you have to
I'm not enjoying anything anymore, so I need to come back.
That's so true. I feel like TBRs as well have always like historically gone badly for us. Like anytime we tried to pick something, then even like we used to do 5 books we want to read in a year, and we had 12 months to read 5 books. Like, you think we could have done it.
I'd read 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe, at most.
So we're such mood readers that making TBRs doesn't really make sense. I do like making TBRs for readathons and challenges because they have like a tight deadline.
We've done a few monthly TBRs or even seasonal, and it never works out. I never want to have to read a book because I think I need to based on some list I've created. I want to read all of my books, so I don't want to feel extra guilty for a certain few. In terms of like real talk though, I don't think people are watching the old BookTube content anymore. They're more interested in the innovative ideas. There's just something a lot more charming about a reading vlog because you get to know the person, and I think if you know the person, then you're obviously going to be more interested in their opinions.
I think it's one of those things where people have always thought of reading as a really lonely hobby, and reading vlogs, when you're in someone's house in their reading space, like seeing them do other things as well as read, like you just feel more like a friend.
A few years ago there was a big conversation about autopiloting on BookTube where people just made the same genre of videos every month because that is what BookTube was meant to be. I didn't chime in at the time to say like, oh, that's bad, because I'm just like, create whatever content you want to do. Like, if you just want to go through a monthly cycle of TBR wrap up book haul, then
and there are only 4 weeks in a month, so like that's essentially just 1 video a week that you're guaranteed to have. And I really liked that when we first started our channel, when I didn't really know what kind of content I wanted to be making, so the fact that there was this framework where you could just create stuff anyway, and tags were so popular back then as well, so you'd always like have a tag
you'd have a TBR, a haul, a wrap up and a tag. That would make up your content.
And I don't really mind that. Like, I often find myself as well, if I look back at our channel and I think like, oh, the last 3 videos have been reading vlogs, I'm like, where's a good old tag? Should we just do one, like, let's just...
Or a challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
Challenges was so big in 2015. The next question is, what assumptions did you have about BookTube before joining, and were they proven right or wrong? No matter what you're making content about and what kind of books you're reading, there is an audience out there for you. And that's something that I feel like I've only really latched onto recently, because when we first started, a lot of people were talking about YA, and that's because it felt like, as we said before, like it didn't exist really as a huge genre. And YA was really at its peak in 2013, 2014. I feel like that's when we had so many huge series just absolutely explode on BookTube, and everyone was reading the same thing then. But now there are so many more niche channels with huge following because people are interested in following someone with their same tastes rather than just a general taste.
I think that's the difficult thing as well though about not doing wrap-ups anymore, like them not being as common. It's harder to gauge someone's reading taste, and that makes it almost harder to find new people that you want to follow, because one week they could be reading YA and that could be their reading vlog, and then the next week they're reading like thrillers or classic books, and that might not be entirely your taste. Question number 4 is, what is something that you've done that's actually helped you to grow your audience in the time you've been on BookTube?
I feel like when we first started, there was just a community of people that did like BookTuber shout-outs, and you always had your friends listed in your down bar, and you talk about them like in every video, and it was just like a really like sweet, warm community where it felt like we were all neighbours or something. Maybe during our read all days, I couldn't say in terms of subscribers because I don't really use that as a metric. Our first one, like last September, and it felt like it was just on the cusp
of when reading vlogs were coming
in. So we did like a weekend readathon, and then suddenly, whoa! It's like one of our most viewed videos. So
our channel has always reached a period of growth whenever we've participated in big readathons.
Oh yeah,
the BookTubeathon, yes. And as it now is the Reading Rush. We haven't partaken in it the last couple of years, but when we did like and do the challenges, and I feel like I've kind of missed out by not taking part in the Owls and the Newts, because those feel like the new version of the BookTubeathon, where everyone is just making videos and having fun with it. Another thing as well is when we started putting closed captions on our videos, that really expands your audience, because people that wouldn't normally suddenly have access to your videos. Even though it does take extra time to do, the automatic subtitles on YouTube are actually really good now. Like, they used to not be, and they used to get every word wrong, but now it doesn't probably take more than 20 minutes to just go through, add capital letters and punctuation, and then you've just got subtitles ready to go. So if you haven't done that before, then I'd really recommend it, because you might see more people on your videos.
What is a common mistake that you see new booktubers or that you've made in the past?
Probably not having a consistent uploading schedule. Like, if you want to see growth on your channel, and if you want to see engagement, then you have to have something that your audience can rely on. Sometimes you have the time for it, and sometimes you don't.
Sometimes you don't.
Like, when we went to university, we tried really hard in our first year to keep making videos, but then things completely dropped off by the time we got to third year, and we couldn't beat ourselves up about that because life got in the way.
A mistake that I've made and continue to make is being like a silent viewer. I often don't comment on any of the BookTube videos I watch, even though I do watch quite a bit. I'll watch everything in my sub feed, but I won't comment and say like, and talk about one of the books they've talked about, or give my opinions on something that they've said. And obviously that's bad, because if people start to see your icon on different pages, like there are some people you see and you're like, oh, you're here as well. So I think if you get your name out that way, but not in a self-promoting way, in a like you're genuinely interested and engaging in what the person's said in the video.
That's another thing as well. Like, maybe a mistake that we've made in the past is not showing more of our personality than just books, because that's how you can find people that would want to return to you even more than they would if you were just reading the same things. Like, if you find people that also like watching the same TV shows or listen to the same music, then that's just another thing that you can bond over.
In our original videos, which I think are all privated now, we used to put like bloopers on the end, because that was sort of what you did. Half of the comments we would get on our videos would be about those things and the funny things that we did or said, and then we just stopped doing it. I think we were trying to create like more of a professional look,
but then that kind of made it less fun. It wasn't something that I default wanted to do.
It was like, oh no, I've got to do unique criticism of this book, so I didn't want to come to BookTube anymore.
And now we're just trying to get back to where we make BookTube videos because they're fun to do, and it's because it's something that we want to do together as well. Trying to insert more of our personality and how we interact with each other, because that's a unique selling point of our channel. Like,
that would
there aren't that many collaborative channels still out there, and
I mean, maybe that is the biggest, you could consider that our biggest mistake, that we're a collaborative channel. Sometimes I really wonder
what would happen if we worked separately,
because I have not seen anyone with more than, you just don't see them. You don't see them. And everyone, any collaborative channel that I have been subscribed to doesn't upload videos anymore. I always used to think that as well, like when I would see people grow and grow, I was just like, oh, is it because we're the dynamic of two? Because most people come to BookTube videos because they're like, I don't have anyone to talk about books with, and it's like, and we do, so maybe it became like a, well, I can't relate because you're talking to each other about it.
The next question is, what are your thoughts on working with publishers and sponsorships?
So we have only been approached to do a sponsored video once. It was like a mid-range UK publisher, and they didn't specify how much it was going to be for in the main body of the email. They asked us what would we normally do, and it was like,
having never done that before, we did not know what was normal, what would be asking too much, and so I guess we just didn't really feel comfortable with it.
So we've never taken a sponsorship, but we have received books from publishers to review. We've been on some mailing lists, and then I'm pretty sure that we've given a like middling or less than average review and then been cut from those mailing lists, which is fine. It's fine. But the thing is, when you start accepting books from publishers, you sometimes like fall into a trap of just saying yes to everything, and then you sort of lose your tastes. And then once again, you're only reading new releases, so you lose the chance to read backlist titles, and it sort of controls your TBR. It becomes more pressured, and as we were saying earlier, TBRs have never really worked for us. So I kind of like the freedom to choose when I want to read a book, if I want to read a book at all.
I'm so grateful that we've had the opportunity to work with publishers. It's actually amazing that we've been able to like keep this hobby, because I don't even know if I would be as into books as I am now if I wasn't like a little small part of the industry in some way.
Yeah, and you know, every few months you'll see a big discussion on Twitter about how publishers don't appreciate book bloggers enough. Anything that we have like explicitly said, yes, we'll do a review and we'll do a video on this, it's always because we genuinely like the publishing house or the author or the book itself, because sometimes we have already read it and then we're like asked to do something. I feel like we've always kept our integrity with it. We've never just like sort of gone along with whatever. But it's really not a big part of our channel. Like I don't think you could say that we're mostly influenced by publishers. I don't think taking sponsorships at all is a bad thing.
No. And it's like, for ages, we didn't put ads on our videos, even though we had the ability to. And that was something that we were like so anxious about. Like, if people would judge us for putting ads on the videos, because that would mean that we like suddenly had a different mindset about our channel or something like that. And then we just put them on and nobody said anything.
Yeah, we resisted it for years though. Yeah. That was important to us for a long time, to remember that we were doing it for fun, because we were buying all of our own books, buying the equipment, putting our time into it as well. So, you know, we really weren't getting anything out of it other than the joy of
the pride of a job well done.
The pride of a job well done, and the community and like the interactions.
And the last question is, do you think that BookTube is dying?
See, this is really hard to say whether yes or no. I don't think it's dying, it's just changing, because so many of the accounts I loved when I started and the friends that I made have deactivated their accounts, disappeared from the internet, and it's really sad to think back on the people that we were talking with in the beginning. The last few years have just had like a slightly different vibe. I would say that I enjoy the content we make more now.
Yeah, totally.
But in terms of the community, I feel like, in some ways I feel like a dinosaur, like I'm too old of a channel for new people to follow and engage with me.
But for us as well, it's like a sad consequence of not having the time to put into BookTube beyond just making the videos. I've like prioritised other things and therefore like lost connections as well, which is sad.
The majority of the friends that we've had on BookTube have either been our age or a few years older, and I remember seeing quite a few of them go through university and suddenly they would start making videos, and I was just like, oh no, is that going to happen to me? And then it did, inevitably it did. Like we've really grown up oddly on this channel. It's weird to think of it in that sense, but we started this when we were 16, we're now 22, so we finished our A-levels and we've graduated university, and it's like we are very different people to the people who started, and our priorities have changed, and I wish I could go back to being 17 and having nothing but time to read, reading like 250 books in a year, but now what I read is fan fiction.
It's like you said, I way prefer the content that we're putting out now. It feels more unique to us. I enjoy the books that I'm reading a lot more, because I've tried to find things that better suit my taste rather than what's popular. And this is like a message to me as well, to try and put more effort into making connections with people and be a bit more active and visible in the community, because that's the only way that I'm going to feel like it's 2015 again. I just have to accept that our channel has ebbs and flows, and even though I can rant about like consistency is the way to move forward, there are going to be months where you don't want to film videos, and because there are two of us as well, like if one of us doesn't feel like it, you can't force that person to then do it.
You may have noticed that Maddie has been making quite a few solo videos, and that is because I am caved up in my room reading fanfiction. So if anyone would like a video about fanfiction, then let me know, because I'd be happy to do it. So those were our rambles on the history and the future of BookTube.
Let us know in the comments what your answers to these questions are, how you feel about BookTube, whether you've been around for ages or you're a relatively new member of the community. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you on our next video.